wheelbarrow of money.
Yeah. But it's
and
literally.
And the Germans, too.
That's literally what happened to Germany through the reparations and the Weimar Republic, which isn't the reparations just sort of like this economic collapse, but now it's done to everybody instead of just targeting Germany, who really, when you really get down to it, were overburdened by that. I think it was completely unfair to blame Germany for all those reparations.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, that's
historically speaking.
That was part of the game too.
Yeah.
Was to get that's what doing that is what gave the ability to have Hitler rise over
exactly.
There. You know, was making it so bad. It was easy for someone to come along.
But
and
what
be
they
like,
did
hey,
is it's more carpetbagging.
problems.
It's carpetbagging. It's just like with the Civil War carpetbagging. They collectivized. They broke down Germany. They break her back, collectivize her property, take her property, put her into debt. And they take the wealth, the bankers. It's the bankers. That's who did it. Who do you think started the war? It was all started for. There was no real reason for World War I. I watched a great show on that yesterday.
Yeah, it was all the assassination.
It's
all
incredible.
that was set up.
And you know what's very incredible about World War I? If you look at the World War I, the history of that war, the way there's a lot of similarities to the political structure and discord that's going on here, which had to do with the Middle East and everything else. People don't really realize that, but there was a big conflict with the Middle East that led to some oil. It was fighting over oil. Even back then, the Rockefellers were going in. Now, this is something I just recently discovered. Believe it or not, by mainstream thing. I was watching a piece that was on the History Channel on World War I, and it covered this. The war in I think it was in 1916, where they went into Asia. Into Persia, which at that time was like Iraq and actually the same places, Iraq and Afghanistan. It's ironic that it's the same locations.
Iraq and Iran.
I meant Iraq and Iran. I meant that. Yes, thank you. Good correction things too, because sometimes we just make clerical errors, like the brain doesn't quite.
There's so much information.
There's so much information that we've digested. Sometimes we misspeak.
Yeah,
but
I said Jefferson before.
Jefferson,
yeah.
Franklin. But Franklin, exactly. It's the theory, it's the idea, it's the concept that these are troubled times that we have slowly being, I don't know. The right word to use is clamped down upon. I don't know what else to say. I mean, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's never about giving you more freedom. It's always about taking things away from you. Notice that. Did you ever realize that? Or making it harder for you to attain something that you want. Mm-hmm. That is part of this collectivism. You want to get you want to get a license you have to get a license for just about anything these days. I mean, you want to go get a
well, I was going to say something you were saying before too about I think it was real good, that comment you just made about how they put sanctions, like instead of sanctions on Germany like back then, right now it's sanctions on everyone.
Right.
And that really is it, because what they have to do is they have to bring down America to the other standards, because they can't have the New World Order if there's America and all these other countries.
Right. That's a very good point.
America has to be brought down to just like the Euro and everything else. So it could really just be that, the UN running it and the one world government, basically. And you're right, that it's sanctions being put on us by our own people, so we will collapse and be like you said, Germany back then, or what's going on
the Weimar Republic, right now. But this is interesting because, again, I was watching this part for about World War I, and the similarities were incredible, because there was a big conflict over the oil. We know that the bankers were behind the whole thing.
False
flagging, assassinations, and everything. The whole thing was just done to spark a war. Again, just like Hitler did the bombing of the burning of the Reichstag, blaming a mentally handicapped guy who could barely speak, executing him right away. You know, usually they get rid of these people right away when they, because they, you know, the Patsy's got to die, or like with Oswald, he had to die.
I was gonna say, yeah,
he had to die.
They weren't gonna let him
You
talk.
know, and this, you know, this isn't like a joke. I mean, it's like you say, oh, you guys are all talking crazy, all conspiracy theorists. Well, if you're thinking that, that is what they've programmed you to think.
And yeah, they're working
because this is really the truth. Yeah, their mind control is working on you, exactly. Because this is really what happened. I mean, CIA on their own. I mean, Howard Howard Hunt on his deathbed basically confessed that he was involved in Dallas and shot JFK. I mean, basically, you know, he was the one behind it. You know, he was there.
There was a lot of people behind it.
Well, there was a lot of. Well, he was. Yeah, he was part. He was CIA. He was there. He admitted he was there. And, you know, part of the assassination team. And it was a team. It wasn't just one shooter.
No.
But that's, again, I don't want to digress. Yeah. But again, this is all true stuff, and nobody talks about it because it's, again, it goes against the order.
And they have it all programmed to where you're
They use Dealey Plaza because, first of all, because it was a triangle, which is perfect for the symbolism of the pyramid.
Or
and
unfinished too.
Unfinished trial, right?
Like
and it was a location of the Masonic temple in Dallas.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was a Masonic ritual killing.
Yeah, it was a Masonic ritual killing. Yeah. Anyway, blame Bush, blame Obama, but don't look behind the curtain. This is what we've been talking about.
Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz. This is a great article from a guy named Bob Livingston, who's a writer, a blogger, and I just thought it was awesome. Listen to this. Alan Greenspan, Ben Bernanke, Henry Paulson, Timothy Geithner, some members of Congress, and big banksters around the globe are breathing a sigh of relief today. A poll shows that most Americans are now blaming President Barack Obama for killing the economy. It's true. This is how they work it. So now you got to worry about, now we're going to get the Republican shill in there. We got to get him in there. Let's get Obama out. He'll take the heat. He'll go and write a bestseller and all this other stuff and do speaking engagements. He'll be a one-termer. Whatever. We want you know, Newt Gingrich or who else is the one?
Mitt Romney.
Mitt Romney, yeah.
I think Mitt Romney is who they're going to try to.
I think the establishment wants. The order wants Romney.
I think.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, for 3 years, Obama and a complicit media have done a good job of blaming Obama's predecessor, George Bush, for the dire state of the economy. After all, Bush spent money like a willy-nilly, cut taxes and got us into expensive wars, but Obama has spent more money and started more wars than Bush. So now there's a new scapegoat. The aforementioned group of elites and their string pullers are quite happy with the news because as long as the Americans remain in their stupor, nothing will ever change. Americans will blame this president or that, but they will never go to the root of the problem for a solution, which is what we're talking about here. And it's a problem that must be removed root and branch. Very well said. Absolutely. You know, this is why the establishment is out to go after Ron Paul, because he is a tremendous threat to the order.
To the Federal Reserve.
To the Federal. Well, the Federal Reserve, like I said, is going to end, and that's why a lot of people have these various opinions about Ron Paul. And
but if we have a Mitt Romney or an Obama in for the next renewal, we got someone who's going to obviously do whatever the Federal Reserve wants.
Oh yes, again,
whether it's making an Amero,
it's probably going to be whatever the new change is going to be. If that's true, it's going to occur under this next president. Yeah, the new currency is coming in 2013, the end of 2012, just like the enslavement that began in 1913 with the Federal Reserve Act, which was passed in January of 1913. But of course, it was put together on December 20. The charter was written. So it's just unbelievable. So don't look behind the curtain. Don't look behind the curtain and find out that all these companies, Leopold and.
Worry about all the people giving the money to these people. You know?
Yeah.
Just worry about the face, right?
It's just unbelievable. So you have to really try not to pay attention to the fact that Congress bailed out Goldman Sachs and their bankster buddies to the tune of $700 billion in TARP money. Don't forget the $200 million MSNBC to spew their propaganda on record. What did they need? Why are we bailing out news organizations? That sounds like a payoff to me. And what do you think, man?
Yeah, seems mafia-like to me.
Sure does. All right, let's get down to the nitty gritty here. The FEMA camps. Now it's all starting to happen. Everything's starting to come together. They got the FEMA camps activated. You got KBR is out subcontracting, getting more people to put this operation in place. Toilets and cleaning facilities and food vending facilities and barbed wire. It's crazy shit. Mm-hmm. What are they planning for? What are they doing? Why did they have all these FEMA coffins
for 2012 and what's coming?
They're planning on what's coming. Yeah, it's scary. And you don't want to believe it. I know that. I know that because I didn't want to believe it either. I mean, I know about this for a long time. And a lot of it, again, it's like self-realization. You just
bad news, denial.
It's denial.
I don't want to believe that
so much.
You know, you get a phone call, someone died. First thing, no.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. You don't want to hear it.
You know, a couple of years ago, grandma passed. No. Like first thing, just I don't want to imagine.
You don't want to deal with it. You don't want to imagine it. You don't want to think about it. It's true, but. It is. I mean, that's the denial aspect.
We
it's
have to
just
get past it and accept it.
And then you know what it was. I'll tell you how I really woke up. I really woke up. First of all, Aaron Russo is like we were just using his example with the thing. But the first thing was I saw his film Freedom to Fascism.
Great movie.
And then the next night, I happened to be in a hotel room in where the hell was it? Oh yeah, in Albany, and the second night I saw Loose Change. Interestingly enough, like whoever was running the local access channel was running that. Yeah, like the same time the next night. I just happened to be flipping through the 5 channels they let you watch on, on the TV, and that was what I mean. I just had never even thought of the two things ever. It never even crossed my mind that the government would do anything like that evil and be involved in perpetrating, making wars and being complicit with companies to, exacerbate wars and then.
Me, I was gonna say I was a little different. I heard this stuff, but I wasn't awakened, so I was, Jesse Ventura, these, bombs in the buildings. I didn't want to believe it. I was in that denial mode.
Mm-hmm.
Government doing
I was
this,
definitely
but
in
then
denial.
I'll tell you what was my thing, because you were saying like with yours, where you're awakening. We were going to do that when the guests were here last time.
Yeah,
I didn't get to mention what mine was. Again, I didn't want to believe the stuff. I heard it, but I didn't want to believe it, like how most people still are.
Right.
And all of a sudden, me and my Uncle John, I was with. We go to the post office. My Uncle John had to get a package at the post office. So we go to the post office to get this package, and they give a DVD. And my uncle's like, well, what is this? And they were like, some guy, I forget his name, I think it was Wilder or something. Some guy who had money made a movie about 9/11 Truth. Mm-hmm. And spent money, and I guess the post offices were giving them away with packages. So my uncle gets this movie, like again, comes in and he was like, oh, look at this movie they gave, you want to watch it? And I was like, no, I don't want to watch that, stuck again, I don't want to hear anything because it doesn't go along with how I pictured it.
Yeah, with your normal belief system.
And then I put it in because there was nothing going on. My uncle again was like, let's put it on. I said, all right, let's put it on. He puts it on, and right away, like, still trying to fight it, and it's like, but wait a sec. Oh wait, no. But no. And it was just like, all of a sudden, within 5 minutes, it's like, wait a sec. I can't argue any of this. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, it was just overwhelming. And that was my turning point.
And then you start, then you try to prove it wrong.
Yes.
See, that's what I did. I tried to prove, when I woke up to all this.
But I couldn't.
Exactly. The reason why I think we know so much and we learn so much, it's not because we're voracious for this information, so much as the fact is we're voracious to find it to be wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, we're not looking for it. I looked at this to disprove it. Mm-hmm. And I found just the opposite. And the more that I looked, it got deeper and deeper. That's why I always say it's like a bottomless pit of evil. It's a never end.
Yeah,
It's
the doors
so
just keep going.
it's a spider web of evil that just continues on, and it's all connected at the center by, again, the owners of these 147 companies, the majority interest owners of these companies, the ones that are setting the protocols, the ones that are all involved in the society through these socio-political organizations, and these frauds that they use to fund wars and drug dealing and all things like that, and covert activities for the CIA.